Hello, friends. How are you? How are you all? There is so much that is going on in the world that is impacting us all. So I truly ask, and I ask from a place of sending you love. How are you? I hope that wherever you are safe. I hope that wherever you are, you're well. And I hope that wherever you are, you're in a place where, even if just for a brief moment, you're able to find joy and you're able to find peace. This week has been particularly challenging for us as Black people. We have seen play out, regardless of where in the world you are, it has been difficult for you not to see and not to be impacted by what has gone on in America, what has gone on in Canada, and what is going on in the world at large. And a lot of the conversation that is being had is around racism. And in this particular moment in time, I understand that all lives matter. I do understand that. But the focus at this particular moment in time, whether it be in America and Canada or in other countries around the world, is Black Lives Matter. And I say Black Lives Matter, but it doesn't mean that only Black Lives matter. All lives matter. But at this point in time, at this point in history, we are discussing the fact that Black lives do matter. And as a Black woman going through the world, it's been hard for me not to relive some of the instances where I have experienced racism, whether it be covert or direct. There have been many instances. I was born and raised in Zimbabwe, as some of you may know. And at the time that I was born, Zimbabwe was a colony. We were a colony of Britain. And in Zimbabwe, at the time that I was born in Rhodesia. And at that time, the constitution of my country said that because I was a little Black girl, I was less than. I was not an equal to a child who had been born as a white person. And so that is the world that I entered. And as I've grown up, I've experienced racism in various forms. As I said, sometimes it is people who are well-meaning. If I had $1 for every time someone has said to me, "You're so articulate, you speak so well, but you're from Africa," almost confused as if the two are mutually exclusive. You couldn't possibly be from Africa and speak well. And I know sometimes they mean it as a compliment. I know sometimes they are well-meaning. But it is that kind of languaging where it's an assumed that because you are Black and because you are Africa, you must be one particular thing. I also had a situation where one of my managers, and I would point out that this manager was not the manager who had hired me. The manager who had hired me had moved on to another position. And this manager, in a way, had inherited me. And he said to me, "You know, if it had been up to me, I wouldn't have hired you. It wouldn't matter to me that you're the most qualified. I'd hire someone who perhaps might be less qualified than you are, because then I would have something in common with them." So this manager effectively told me that if it had been up to him, it was just a fluke of accident that I worked in his department, that he would not have hired me because I did not look like him, because we couldn't possibly have anything in common because I was a Black woman. And if I had to tell you the number of times in my corporate career where I have walked into meetings as the consultant to facilitate a discussion, and it has been assumed that I am there to be the admin, to take notes. And then when I correct them and say, "No, I'm the consultant here to advise your multi-billion-dollar organization on some of the best processes that you can implement," it's been whispered that, "Oh, she must be here on some affirmative action policy." It never occurs to some people that I might be there just because I'm qualified, just because I'm the best person to advise them in that particular moment. But here's what I know, is that I stand by the words, and I love the words that Miss Oprah Winfrey said. Oprah Winfrey said, "Excellence is the best deterrent to racism and sexism." excellence is the best deterrent to racism and sexism. So I would say to you, my brothers, my sisters who are Black, who are going through the world and who experience whether it be overt or covert racism, that one of the most powerful tools that we have is to show up excellent. I can tell you that to the best of my ability, I am human and I fail sometimes, but to the best of my ability, I show up in my excellence. Because I recognize that when I show up in a world, in an industry, I work in an industry where most of the time, most of the people, certainly at leadership positions, are white and are male. And so when I walk in a room, I realize that I may stand as one, but I come as 10,000. I represent all Black women. I represent all African women because their interpretation of who I am and my ability is what will ultimately color how they interact with the next Black woman, the next Black man. And so I take that responsibility very seriously. I realize that I have to show up excellent. And I also applied the same to this platform, to Ndini. Because one of the things that frustrated me is that all too often as Black women, we are given sloppy seconds. The things that we are given are adequate. There you go, you have something. And so although this platform, and I share this for the very first time, it is a platform that I fund fully out of my pocket. I do not have any sponsors. I do not have anybody who gives me money. And in fact, my husband jokes about how I have a very expensive hobby in this platform. But I spend a lot of time, I spend a lot of money producing the content that we put out. Because I recognize, number one, I have a responsibility to show that as Black people, we can be excellent too. I also recognize that I have privilege that some others may not have. I have access to information. I have access to internet. I have access to all these tools that others may not have. And it is my responsibility to share that. And so even as well with the other platform that I created, Woman on Fire Summit, we ultimately did not manage to have the event on April 5th as had originally been planned because, well, Corona had other plans for us. But we are going to have that event. And I can tell you that when I created that event, I wanted to create an excellent event. I brought big name speakers. I brought the biggest name speakers that I was able to reach to in my current capacity because I wanted to show that as Black people, we too can put on excellent events. We too can have phenomenal speakers who are some of the most amazing speakers that I have had the privilege to encounter, but who we don't often hear from. And so that would be what I want to tell you today is if we want to counter racism, if we want to counter sexism, our answer needs to be to show up in every moment excellent. Barack Obama said we need to internalize this idea of excellence. He said that not many folks spend a lot of time trying to be excellent. So that is my challenge to you. Is let us not cry racism. Let us not cry sexism if we are not showing up as our best self, if we are not showing a different view of who we can be in this world. I challenge you in whatever you're doing, wherever you are going, show up excellent because you represent not just yourself. You represent all those who came before you. You represent all those who will come after you. Let us be excellent because that is our answer to those who would choose to discriminate against us based on the color of our skin or based on our sex or any other bias that they may have. And so I wish you all well. I wish you a fantastic week. I hope that in all of this, you can find peace. Much love to you all. Thank you for joining me.
Here's what I'd love to ask you as our community. So I want to know from you, who do you want me to have on the show? Who would you like me to interview? Who are some of the amazing women whose stories you would like for us to share on this platform? If you have any fantastic ideas, and even better, if you can connect me with them, please comment, leave your comment, or DM me and tell me who are some incredible stories I should be sharing on this platform. And the other ask that I have of you is for you to subscribe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook, and share. Please share. If you find any of our interviews inspiring, please share them with your friends and family.